Welcome, partiers, to the show. This is Party Pastime After Hours. I'm your host, Thomas, and I'm here with my good buddy, Patrick.
Hello. By after hours, he means after working hours. It's 11 p.m.
We are recording at 11 p.m. here. But that's not going to stop us from continuing the party because, Pat, we have a show today. Some sad news, some fun news, and a good movie to review at the end. Let's get into some fun stuff first, Pat's talking about parties. Yours truly had his 28th birthday just a couple days ago.
Old man,
you kids get off my lawn.
Yeah, get off of my lawn. How was it? What'd you do? I couldn't make it, unfortunately.
Rennie and I didn't do much. I had to get some stuff fixed for my car.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully it was only an ignition thing, so I didn't have to take it into the shop. I thankfully got that taken care of myself. It was just like an all-day thing because originally I thought my car just had to get cleaned out because I was just doing some research like, okay, why is my check engine light on? The car's running smoothly. I did like this whole thing called I forgot what the brand is called, but it's like foam spray. You put some stuff in your fuel system and then you'll spray it through your like engine and it should clean it out.
Mm-hmm.
But then the car began to stutter and I thought, oh crap, maybe this wasn't a good idea. Turns out it was just an ignition replacement. So what could have just been just a few minute thing, I just ended up being almost an all day thing. So we really didn't get the party going until like 3 p.m. Rennie and I went down to St. Pete for a happy hour at Oak and Stone.
Oh, okay. I've heard of it. I've just never like gone.
Yeah, we went. I think what ended up happening actually worked in our favor because we ended up showing up at Oak and Stone at the right time. It was happy hour, so for 2 meals and for Lord knows how many drinks we had, only came out to only $35.
That's not bad at all.
No, that was great. And of course, we went to see Beetlejuice right after, which we will be reviewing at the end of the show. So despite everything that happened, it was just a chill birthday, honestly. And really, I was okay with it, despite I spent most of the day on my car.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Glad you had fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man. 28 years old. Pat, 30 is sneaking up on us like it's nothing.
I know. I think about this often. I always joke like I'm almost 30. My life is over. But I mean, it's not that big a deal, you know. You get older all the time.
Yeah. Wait.
I'll be 28 next month, so.
Ooh, party at Pat's place.
Yeah.
All our 10 subscribers are invited.
Mm-hmm. But don't show up at my house. I won't let you in. Not you, the subscribers.
Pat, let's go ahead and get into our show today. We have a running theme for this week's show is going to be a lot of celebrating life. Starting off with one of the legendary actors of all time, the voice of Darth Vader, the voice of Mufasa. James Earl Jones has passed away at the age of 93.
Yeah, I heard about this while I was at work.
I
saw it on Twitter.
I got the message from a buddy of mine, Austin, who messaged me on my way home from work. I got off. I was driving. I was at a stoplight, saw a message, and he told me, and I was like, oh, no way. I don't really know what James Earl Jones really died of. It might have just been natural.
I don't believe they made a statement.
Okay.
At 93 years old, I have to imagine it was just old age. Natural causes, you know. He seemed very spry for his age.
Oh, the
Definitely
yeah.
didn't look 93.
Oh no, without a doubt. He he looked good for his age, even with how older he got when he came back to play Mufasa and Darth Vader. You can tell there were some cases where the voice was getting a little older, but for the most part, it was still those characters.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good in Fences too. I don't know if you've ever seen any of his work on the Broadway production of Fences. Um, really good
Yeah,
stuff.
I actually have not. And this is the Broadway you're talking about. This not the movie that Denzel Washington did.
Yeah, I mean the
Wow.
original Broadway
Oh,
play.
oh. No, I probably should see that. I think
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely worth looking up at least a few scenes on YouTube.
right, right.
Um, it's really good stuff.
Mm-hmm. One of my man, um, Field of Dreams is of course a classic, and
Yeah, of
well,
course.
honestly, my personal favorite, Coming to America, where he plays another king of Africa, but
Yeah,
his character is so hilarious in that movie.
he's
It
also in Doctor Strangelove.
oh, but it just shows what of a wide variety of roles he played throughout his life. He can do like the most comedic stuff from um Coming to America to playing this vile villain in Star Wars to being this superb leader in Lion King. This is a man that is going to be remembered forever. And as cliched as it sounds, I don't care how cliched it sounds. He will be remembered forever because of all these just wide variety of roles he has played. So rest in peace to James Earl Jones. Pat, what's your favorite movie that James Earl Jones has done?
Mm, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Excluding Star Wars, because I know Empire is your favorite.
right. Yeah, well, I wasn't gonna say Empire Strikes Back.
Because if we were gonna do Star Wars, Return of the Jedi for me.
Right. I mean, Doctor Strangelove is up there,
Mm-hmm.
certainly. What was it? I think he's also in he's in Robots, I'm pretty sure.
He's in. Oh my gosh.
Hunt for Red October,
Oh.
also very good.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm gonna.
I think he's also in the 1982 Conan the Barbarian,
Gotcha.
also very good. Um, so I mean, really anything that he did was kind of solid gold.
Right.
At least from what I saw. Field of Dreams, of course. Pretty sure he's in The Sandlot. So I mean, he's in a lot of really, really good stuff.
Right.
What is it? Clear and Present Danger, also like underrated thriller with Harrison Ford in it, like in the starring role. Like, yeah, he's also in that. So I mean, it's
yeah.
I'll get to, I'm sorry, he was in The Benchwarmers. Who did he play?
Oh my gosh.
Who did he play in Benchwarmers?
All right, Pat. So I want to play this real quick because I know I was talking about James Earl Jones and his wide variety, going from comedy to drama. I just feel like it's appropriate to play this.
Take one. Wild roars.
No, keep it rolling. I just want to try several things.
There's a sound down there in the throat somewhere. I just don't know how to reach it.
Simba, what is he talking about?
There we go.
Keep it rolling.
Oh, sorry.
That's as close as I can get right now.
Pretty good. You know what? I just remembered something. He is a guest star in an episode of House. And actually it's one of the best episodes of the show where he plays a like a South African dictator.
He's a
slash
dictator. Oh,
Yeah, he's a dictator, and he's come to America for some meeting or conference, and he falls ill, and Chase, the doctor who's assigned care to him, has like a moral dilemma about whether or not it would be right to let him die or kill him, because he's planning a genocide that he's going to enact. And it's one of the best episodes of the show. So that is also just another thing that I really like that James Earl Jones was in. Because I was rewatching House. I was rewatching House recently, actually, and that episode came up.
that is one of my. That is one of the most intense episodes of House, and where Chase goes. I honestly forgot James Earl Jones was the dictator. Wow.
Yeah, he's like the warlord.
Yeah. Man,
And,
I want to. I I gotta rewatch House again.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
It's a great episode.
Oh, it's one of the best ones.
Chase literally kills that man. Spoilers, but it's great. It's a very, very, very good episode.
Once again, rest in peace to a king out in Hollywood. And Pat, let's continue this trend with celebration of life. This is our record shop segment, everybody. And with all the stuff that's been happening with Linkin Park, all the great stuff, I want to clarify, all the great stuff that's been happening with Linkin Park, let's celebrate the life of Chester Bennington and also just celebrate this comeback that Linkin Park is having. So they released their new song and music video, The Emptiness Machine, with their new lead singer, Emily Armstrong. Pat, what band was she from again before coming into Linkin Park?
Dead Sarah.
Dead Sarah, okay. And they were more of a smaller band, if I'm correct, right?
I don't think they ever got like super huge. But I know they were pretty popular for a while. At least, I mean, in 2012 they had like their first album came out, and it was like a breakout hit. It was like propelled by their promotional single, The Weatherman. Great song, by the way. But certainly Linkin Park is quite a bit of a step up in terms of
Right.
popularity and filling the shoes for a legacy act, as it were.
And Pat, you're more of the music guy. I think Emily Armstrong is a great singer, and I think this whole comeback of Linkin Park is fantastic, especially them announcing an album called From Zero that will be released next month, if I recall.
November,
so 2 months actually. So
Yeah,
Pat, you being more the music guy than I am, what's your stance on the comeback and the new lead singer?
Yeah, I think she's a great choice. I was a big fan of Dead Sarah. um, before this, so I was always interested in her vocals. I had heard the rumors, long gestating rumors that Linkin Park was preparing a comeback with a female vocalist. I had not heard anything about it being Emily Armstrong. So, but the Emptiness Machine, the single, did leak before they officially released it, and as soon as I heard it, I was like, yeah, that's Emily Armstrong, and I was like, good choice, good choice. Um, I think she, um, I think she carries the torch well, while also, um, they're not trying to replace Chester because you
Mm-hmm.
can't. They're just here to do something new. They're starting a new era for the band. Um, but she does still handle the old material very well. So they released this single and announced this album the same day that they had a live stream performance in LA. It was a small, like, fans only
Yeah.
concert
Yeah.
where they unveiled her as the new singer. They played the new single as well as a bunch of legacy material. The beginning of the show was a little rocky. I have no doubt that they were incredibly nervous to be back and performing for the first time in 7 years. But I think they shook it off, and the further they got into the performance, the better they got.
Mm-hmm.
While at that show, they announced a 6-date world tour that kicked off a couple days ago in Los Angeles at the Forum.
Mm-hmm.
And I did watch that show on YouTube after the fact.
Yeah.
By the way, the set list for that show is probably the best set list they've ever played. It's what, like, I think it was 27 songs. They played for 2
Mm-hmm.
hours and 15 minutes. And she, like, just within the one show gap, has really come into her own, and I
Yeah.
think she really hits the old material
Mm-hmm.
in a way that's different but familiar.
Yeah.
There has been some controversy revolving around Emily Armstrong and her entrance into the band. Um, to briefly go over this, um, and there's no. I want to preface this by saying that there's no actual concrete proof that this is still the case. However, Emily Armstrong in the past was associated with Scientology. Her parents are both decently high up within Scientology, and there are pictures, or at least a picture of her with them at some kind of Scientology event or conference. That picture is also from 10 years ago, and she has not publicly been associated with Scientology since then.
Mm-hmm.
In 2022, she did attend the arraignment of Danny Masterson uh, prior to him standing trial for his rape accusations. So she was there at the arraignment to support him as a friend. However, as details about the case became known and she got more information, she cut off contact and distanced herself from him. She's not super active on social media either. So some people were trying to point out that the fact that she still followed Danny Masterson on Instagram was her supporting him, but the fact of the matter is, like, Emily Armstrong has not posted on Instagram up until the Linkin Park announcement. She had not posted on Instagram in over 2 years, let alone posted a story. So to be honest, she's probably just, like, not super active on that platform and kind of just forgot about it.
Right.
Some people were wondering why she didn't preemptively apologize. Probably because she was not nearly as famous as she was a week ago. Who would her? I mean, she would have basically been making an apology to nobody, as far as
Right.
I'm concerned. And I think people really should be giving the band more credit. You know, people really seem to think that they know about Emily Armstrong from a very small amount of information ascertained on social media than like Mike Shinoda would know about her when the band has been privately jamming with her for 3 years at this point, and they've been writing this album and planning this comeback for over a year, according to the interview that they did with Zane Lowe, which is a great interview, by the way. Really worth watching. There's also been some stuff about one of Chester Bennington's own sons, like disavowing her inclusion in the band. As I understand it, the one son in particular, because Chester Bennington had 6 children with 3 different women, this particular son is the only child of Chester Bennington's that has restraining orders preventing him from being in contact with Linkin Park or Grey Days, Chester Bennington's other project. And he's also all but been cut off from contact with most of the other family, including Chester's widow, because he firmly believes that Chester Bennington was murdered, not that he killed himself, and he believes that Linkin Park played a part in his murder. So
Oh my God.
I wouldn't really, or Mike Shinoda specifically, he thinks that Mike murdered Chester, essentially, and he peddled
Jeez.
conspiracy theories about that for years now. So I don't really care what he says, actually. Chester Bennington's widow herself, you know, praised her inclusion in the band by, you know, commenting hearts on their posts, and that's good enough for me. I have to assume that these people who are actually working with Emily Armstrong know her better than anybody else,
Right.
and that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
And, you know, some people say, why isn't she publicly speaking out against Scientology? I mean, to be honest with you, most people who leave Scientology do so quietly and never speak up about it, because people who leave and who become public against Scientology live hellacious lives filled with stalking and harassment, because the Church of Scientology labels those people as suppressive persons, and they try to make them as miserable as possible.
Yep.
So, I mean, lots of famous people have been in Scientology, left Scientology, and never said anything about it for fear of their safety and the safety of the people around them. So I truly do not think this will ever be addressed, particularly if she still has family that's inside Scientology, such as her own sister. But the lyrics to the Emptiness Machine in particular feel like her rebelling against it as much as she can. And also, I believe she's openly lesbian, which is against a couple doctrines of Scientology. So, that's that on that. I really like the new single. I've been listening to it a ton. I'm at the point where I probably need to cut myself off, because if I keep up this pace, by the time From Zero comes out, I won't want to listen to the single anymore. So I need to chill.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly,
But
Pat,
this whole revival has been cool.
Yeah. It's amazing that Linkin Park's coming back. I did not know any of this about Emily, though, about the Scientology stuff.
Yeah.
When you were talking about controversies, I thought you were saying, "Oh, you know, there are people that are not supportive of it." Blah blah blah. I've only come across just one comment about that. The support that Emily is getting is amazing, and I think she deserves it. But man,
Definitely,
that is some wild stuff to hear, though.
Definitely depends what part of the internet you're on, I guess.
Right.
Particularly within the Linkin Park fandom.
Yeah.
But yeah. And, you know, I think she's getting more widespread support now that people have seen her live.
Yeah.
But still, there are detractors. You're always going to have people who say this isn't Linkin Park. You're always going to have people saying that they should have just started under a new name. You're always going to have people saying that Linkin Park was Chester, even though those same people just want hybrid theory over and over and over again.
Right.
I mean, let's not pretend that every time Linkin Park, everybody said, "Well, this isn't Linkin Park." Like, it's just, minutes to midnight comes out. Oh, this isn't Linkin Park. 1,000 Suns comes out. Oh, this isn't Linkin Park. Just one of those things, man. Hunting Party comes out. Oh, this isn't Linkin Park. One More Light comes out. Oh, this isn't Linkin Park. Like, they should retire. Like, there are some people who will just never be satisfied.
Right.
If you want my personal take on it, whether you like the content of the albums or not, it's all Linkin Park.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's, they wrote those albums, they released those albums under their name for a reason. It is a Linkin Park project. You do not own the identity of the band because you are more attached to a particular work of theirs. And I actually think the Emptiness Machine sounds a lot like something that they would have thrown on the Hunting Party, which I think the Hunting Party, as far as Linkin Park albums go, is pretty underrated. So I immediately jive with the new single. And I'm interested to hear any future singles that they release, or maybe they'll just keep it quiet and just drop the album without any other promotional singles. That's definitely possible. But I know after they drop the album, they're going to go on a much bigger world tour. I would like them to come to Florida.
Man, I would love for them to come to Florida.
I mean, I haven't seen Linkin Park live in 10 years. So
I've never seen them live, and I really wish I did when Chester was alive. But if they ever come to Florida, you bet I'm gonna.
Yeah, I saw them twice in 2014, and I never saw them since. So
there's an interview that Mike Shinoda did with the radio station KROQ with the host.
Oh, Croc, yeah,
Croc, with the host being Nicole Alvarez, and I think he said it best with there's a lot of eyes on Emily now. It's, if you feel that connection with Chester, sing for Chester, but let Emily be herself. And I think that's just the best way to put it. The words couldn't have been better said with Mike himself.
Yeah, and I mean, he kind of said as much too in their original comeback performance, from a week or 2 weeks ago. In the live stream, he was introducing the band one by one. On guitars, it's this, on vocals, it's, our new friend Emily Armstrong. But specifically, he makes time to say that in the role of Chester Bennington tonight is all of you.
Mm-hmm.
So, Emily's not replacing Chester.
No.
And this band, which is just as much Mike's as it was Chester's.
Mm-hmm.
Mike started the band, and Chester wasn't even the original vocalist when they started. They deserve to have grieved for 7 years, and it's their right to want to continue to make art together under this name. Nobody gets to tell them otherwise. So I'm very glad they're back, and I hope they keep this momentum up.
Yeah.
I hope they release a killer album in November. I'm excited.
It's a whole new era, baby, and I am all for it.
Yeah.
Patrick, we have another thing to celebrate. Welcome to our Marvel Madness segment, everybody. I think the title of that segment speaks for itself. Patrick, beginning of actually the end of August. And I'm kind of surprised we're doing it now, but we did we did talk about a lot of other stuff for the previous episodes. But I think it's time to that we talk about Marvel's 85th year anniversary. We're big Marvel fans. We're big comic book fans. We're big fans of the MCU. 85 fucking years.
Yeah. 85 years, man. I mean, that's a long time for any business. An institution, to say the least.
Mm-hmm. All right, everybody. Here we are, celebrating 85 years of Marvel.
Here's our special guest, Stan Lee.
Which one is your favorite?
Oh, gee, you know, that's almost like asking a parent who's his favorite child. I think I love them all.
I often look back at the early 60s in the famous Marvel bullpen with Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Steve Ditko creating Spider-Man, the Avengers, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four. House of Ideas. It's called that for a reason.
In the comic books and in the movies, story is always the most important element.
That's my secret, Cat. I'm always angry.
One thing I think that we've innovated is overlapping characters and stories.
Who the hell are you guys?
Marvel is this massive canvas through which all of our humanity is explored.
People who have grown up with these comic books, they've known these characters for their whole lives.
To me, my X-Men.
And now there's this new generation meeting them for the first time.
Here you have the chance to be part of something much bigger than yourself. I waited a long time for this team up. Can you imagine the fun, chaos?
Shut up.
Oh my God.
The storytelling reaches to the heart of various age ranges and cultures.
Symbols are nothing without the women and men that give them meaning. Today, we look to the future.
I've always tried to do stories that the characters have human qualities anybody can relate to. And of course, I can't leave without saying Excelsior.
All right, Pat. We just watched Marvel's 85 years. And like I said, well, it's just like what you said. Yeah, it's really cool that really any company can go for that long. But with Marvel specifically, they just hold a lot of nostalgia. But also, when you look at what they've done with the Marvel Cinematic Universe in general, even with some of the not so great films that haven't really been generally favorable, you still can't deny with what they're doing, they are just one powerhouse of a company.
Yeah, it's definitely an unstoppable operation. That's for sure.
I do love. Of course, they're gonna have Stan Lee in that video because of course he is the one that brought Marvel to where it is today. Still, I think that was just a really sweet little thing to do to add him, like talking to the kids at the beginning of the video, then of course having his old saying Excelsior at the end.
Yeah.
Pat, of course we can talk about favorite Marvel movies, comics, TV shows. I kind of want to stick to the TV shows because they actually did stick to a lot of the TV shows in this video. What's your favorite Marvel show that they've done? Like any one you've watched, what's the one that you always come back to, that one that's always your favorite?
Well, I have a big soft spot for the 1992 X-Men show.
Oh,
as well as the 1994 Spider-Man show.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, is where the Spider-Verse idea got started, with the 3-part finale. But actually, I think just like the best show and best thing that Marvel has put out in years is probably X-Men 97.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yes.
X-Men 97 is peak. It's peak. It is absolutely fantastic. That is good ass television. And I wish Marvel was as consistent as it used to be. Because if everything that they put out was to the same level as X-Men 97, I'd never complain again. But they can't all be winners.
Right.
So yeah. Those would be my choices, I think.
Those are great choices. One show that I hold a lot of nostalgia for. It's not my favorite. This was like around the early days of animation on TV. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends comes to mind.
That's a good one. It's a classic.
Back when Disney XD was still known as like Toon Disney back in the day, they would play that show like late, like we're talking about like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And of course, I would stay up that late just to watch an episode. I was a kid. I just wanted to see another Spider-Man show, and that one just was different. I think my favorite one though has to be Spectacular Spider-Man.
That's a good one.
It is one of my favorite just Marvel mediums just ever. They did a lot of different stuff with all these characters while still keeping the core idea of all of these characters too. This show was actually my introduction to the character of Liz Allen before I dove deeper into some of the comics. And now Liz is one of my favorite characters, and I am, of course, happy they brought her into live action form with the first Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man: Homecoming. But she was such a great and sort of complex character in this show, where she wanted to be this, popular cheerleader type girl, but also has this giant crush on the school's nerd who they do bully all the time. And also they bring in Mary Jane much later into the show too. She doesn't come into like somewhere mid season 1, I think, and doesn't get like a regular character place until season 2.
Yeah.
But I think what does it for me is the friendship of Peter and Harry. That is some of the best friendships, and also some complex friendship too I've seen in not just a Marvel show, but just in an animated kids show. How adult they got in this show, especially when it was still on Disney XD at the time. It was bold.
Yeah.
It was very bold, and of course, Sony being Sony, we never got an actual finale of Spectacular Spider-Man. But with everything that came out with X-Men 97, and because there's also been talks of doing a Spider-Man 94, 95 show.
Like 98,
98?
yeah, 97, 98, something like
Yeah.
that.
To do that, I honestly would love to see that also with Spectacular Spider-Man, and actually, if they even could just come back for at least one more season, just to finish off what they ended with, because they ended on a big cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Norman Osborn never actually died. Dr. Connors and his family moves out to Miami. If you actually do some research, they actually had this whole thing planned out for season 3 and beyond. They even had a made-for-TV movie it was all in development, so nothing went past production. But they had a musical episode where it was going to be the kids reflecting on their high school life just before graduation. The made-for-TV movie was going to be centered on Dr. Connors, and I believe it was some of the villains just wanting to find a cure and holding Connors hostage. So Peter had to go all the way from New York to Miami to come save the day. I wish we got that. If Sony wasn't even if the show came out today, I still think the show would have been canceled because, I mean, let's face it, we've seen what Sony's doing right now. You and I talked about Kraven the Hunter, Pat.
Yep.
I wish we got a finale, and I guess I can still hold on to that hope with what we got with X-Men 97. But I think it's safe to say, I don't think we're going to, even if it does get announced a long time in the future, we're probably not going to see anything from Spectacular Spider-Man anytime soon. However, it was great to see that character of Peter make a quick cameo in Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Pat, let's continue this celebration theme that we have going on this week in our Game Time segment. Last week, Pat, you said that Astro Bot was... because at the time you were still playing the game, you haven't really quite finished it, but you said that Astro Bot was a great celebration of all PlayStation games. You have finally finished Astro Bot, Pat.
Right.
Give us your review, Pat.
So just to clarify, I had finished Astro Bot.
Oh, okay.
Literally that day. Like I had.
Gotcha. Okay.
I had beaten the game and gotten the platinum right before we started recording. But now I have my thoughts like all like set and done. Yeah, this game's really good. It's definitely, I mean, it literally is on Metacritic and OpenCritic the best reviewed game of the year. And deservedly so. This is essentially like Sony PlayStation's like Mario Galaxy.
Right.
And I don't mean that just because you also go to different galaxies with, you know, every planet being based around a specific power-up or gimmick. I mean that in that it is like the quintessential masterclass platformer experience that you would associate with Mario Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think Mario Galaxy is the pinnacle of Mario games still to this day. I think Odyssey is very close. But Mario Galaxy, the first one, will always be my favorite. I am willing to put Astro Bot at the very least right alongside Mario Galaxy as a shining example of the platformer genre. It is so full of charm and love and adoration for 30 years of PlayStation history. Astro Bot is proof that Sony is just sitting on a treasure trove of IPs that they just don't do anything with. And I really hope that Astro Bot is the game that gets them to shift their philosophy a little bit and start using more of these beloved IPs and making a wider variety of games.
Right.
Nowadays, Sony comes out with a video game, or PlayStation Studios comes out with a video game, and you can bet your ass it's a narrative-driven third-person action game with, cinematic movie quality cutscenes and lofty themes and really personal characters. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a formula that clearly works. But I would like to see them bring back, the Sly Coopers and the Jack and Daxters and the Ape Escapes. And, they're just like, they don't really have a big shooter right now. Like they could, Killzone hasn't had a game since 2014 or actually 2013,
Oh my God, really? That long?
Yeah, Killzone
Jeez.
Killzone Shadowfall was a launch title for the PS4, man. November 2013.
Wow.
So, I mean, we haven't had a Killzone game in over a decade. We haven't had a Resistance game since 2012.
Right.
I mean...
Oh my God.
So, I'm getting sidetracked here. But, yeah, this game was non-stop fun. It was an 18-hour reminder of why video games are such a wonderful medium and why I like them in the first place. It's just good, clean, fun. I think I wrote a review for this on my Letterboxd, and I opened the review by describing it as the video game equivalent of sipping from a warm mug of the most decadent hot cocoa you've ever had on a cold winter night.
I loved that opening, Pat.
That's what this feels like to play. I can't think of any single moment during my entire time playing Astro Bot where I wasn't smiling or laughing. I played the whole game over the course of the weekend that it came out, so Friday through Sunday. So I played it, for like 5 hours straight on Friday night, and then another 5 hours on Saturday night, and then I actually didn't work that Sunday for once, so I played it I played it all day Sunday, and my sister was watching me play through it the entire time, so she was with me the whole way essentially, and I just had a blast. The levels are immaculately designed, great music. I need to give a special shout out to the soundtrack for this game. It's so good. It's full of joy and whimsy, and it's reactive, so it changes in subtle ways depending on what you're doing or how the level has progressed. It's just really fun to explore every nook and cranny of all the levels for the puzzle pieces and all the bots, and just experiencing the craftsmanship. You can tell excuse me, that this was a labor of love from a really passionate development team.
Right.
And I think anyone who owns a PlayStation 5 really should not skip this. And I think if you don't own a PlayStation 5, maybe this should be one of the reasons that you pick it up. Because there is a lot of buzz now that this is a very strong Game of the Year contender. And I can't disagree with that. I think this is pretty much like a perfect game. I mean, I gave this a perfect score on Letterboxd, so I would definitely give it, 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. whatever scale you use, this is absolutely like top of the pack. Is it my favorite game I've played this year? Possibly.
Okay.
Because Balatro still exists. Which is probably my game of the year. But we'll see.
Right.
We'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. I got to think about it more.
Right. And
But
Pat,
it's,
if I remember from last week, you said that Astro Bot only had a development team of only 65 people.
65 people, yeah, which is small compared to the, you know,
the norm AAA video game, which has many people, but it's all on, yeah.
Hundreds, 100, 200 plus. And it's, you know, I was talking about this last week. AAA game budgets are ballooning out of control.
Yeah.
With like 9-figure budgets. And so many of them are described as like make or break because they're in gestation for like 5, 6, 7 years. And then they come out and they need to make all these sales targets. But Astro Bot comparatively was developed in 3 years by 65 people. So the budget was relatively low. So the margin for profitability is not actually that high.
Yep.
So definitely, I hope this succeeds the way that it seems to be going.
Right.
Because this is a wonderful video game for all ages. And definitely shout out, by the way, to the final platforming challenge that is required to get 100 true 100% completion and get the platinum trophy. That shit's fucking hard. There are a few like mastery challenges in the game that like really test your mettle and like really put to the test your platforming skills. And those are some of my favorite moments in the whole game. But that final Grandmaster challenge, holy shit, that's hard. I think I was on it for an hour and 30 minutes, like over 100 deaths. So yeah, just wanted to give a shout out to that.
Nice.
It's really good proof that you can make a game that's just fun.
If I'm correct, Pat, so yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but Astro Bot just started out as like the mascot for the PlayStation 4.
So
if I'm unless I'm thinking about something else, and now they have this whole video game that is now one of the best reviewed of the year, one of the best games of this year.
Astro originally started off as like an augmented reality experience for the PlayStation camera, like the PlayStation Eye for PS4.
I so forgot about that.
And he was just like this little like interactive thing for the PlayStation camera.
Right. Okay.
But then he the first Astro Bot game was Astro Bot VR. It was a pack-in game for the first PlayStation VR headset. So the first like real Astro Bot game was a pack-in title for the PlayStation VR, and then they made Astro's Playroom, which Astro's Playroom is a pack-in game with the PlayStation 5. So every PlayStation 5 comes pre-installed with Astro's Playroom, and it's really just it's a short little 4-hour platformer that again is a love letter to PlayStation history. And sure, it's kind of just like a tech demo for what the DualSense controller can do, but also it's so good, like insanely good. For just being like a literally free pack-in game, it's an absurdly good platformer in its own right. And then they just, I guess they saw that reception and they spent the next 3 years developing a full-fledged real full game for Astro. And PlayStation is sort of lacking right now in terms of a really iconic mascot that stands as like the single mascot that you associate with the brand, right?
Yeah.
Like Nintendo has Mario, and Microsoft has Master Chief,
Right.
and Sega's got Sonic.
Yeah.
And Sony has like at any given time, Sony has like a representative from whatever their biggest game is. So they've had various mascots, but there's not just one big mascot. It used to be Crash Bandicoot, but that's, you know, almost 30 years ago now.
Yeah.
So I would actually really be down going forward for Astro to be the PlayStation mascot that they use for like all of their branding everywhere. And, you know, because I think he's fucking adorable. He's really cute and he's really iconic. And it's such a simple design. It's easily recognizable. He's the poster child for now the best reviewed game of the year, which I'm sure will be getting awards buzz because the Game Awards are coming up in December. So, yeah, I would like for them to. He's had an interesting life. You know, he was originally just a gimmick for the PlayStation Eye, and then he was in 2 pack-in games for accessories. And well, a packing game for an accessory and a packing game for a console.
Right.
And now he stands a real shot of being like the representative for PlayStation as a brand. So, yeah.
Now that is a character that has come such a long way. And Pat, what you
I know.
said, I skipped out on the PlayStation 5, but just for hearing Astro Bot, if it doesn't get like a PC release like what the Spider-Man games have, I might just get it now because of Astro Bot. This sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, and I mean, you can play Astro's Playroom too, which is, I mean, literally free. So it's pre-installed on your PS5. So.
Patrick, let's continue this celebration with our movie talk segment to celebrate our favorite demon, Beetlejuice, in his new movie, Beetlejuice. I don't know about you, Pat, because normally when we see a movie off the show, we do talk about it. But
yeah,
I saw it, and I had a great time with this new movie. A surprisingly one hell of a good time.
Yeah, I had some fun with it. I think it's just okay. You know, overall, I think it's okay.
Really? I honestly would have thought you would have said something better than just okay. So first of all,
I think it's all right.
Okay.
I didn't love it,
Gotcha,
but I
okay.
didn't regret watching it. You know what I mean?
So first of all, this takes place years after the first movie. This is what it says on its IMDb. After a family tragedy, 3 generations of the Dietz family return home to Winter River. Still haunted by Beetlejuice, Linda's life is turned upside down when her teenage daughter Astrid accidentally opens a portal to the afterlife. So Pat, you go first, because I'm actually surprised you said it was just okay. I actually thought you would have enjoyed this more than I did. So what makes it just okay to you?
I think the script is just a little messy.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I think the characters and the performances and the staging and the makeup and the costumes are all great, but I just think that the writing, the script, and you know the way the plot flows, I think it could have used another like once over. This movie has like 2 separate villains, and this movie has 2 separate villains, and neither of them have any bearing on each other. Like, it's just like, it's weird. Like, there is like neither the existence of each one doesn't justify the other. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
right.
they don't interact with each other. It's just like it's literally just two villains, a la Spider-Man 3, or something like that. It's like we got we put Beetlejuice twice in the name, therefore we have two villains. That's sort of what it feels like. What is the stapling scene? You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, but overall, I still had fun. You know, it's fun, it's entertaining.
Right.
I just think the script is not like amazing.
Right. I will agree with you in some sense that the script could have done had some better work done on it. Of course, the whole thing with Jenna Ortega's character Astrid and Winona Ryder's character Linda, how they're with their chemistry, her not believing her mom, and then her finally believing in her mom. I think it was predictable.
Yeah.
But overall, I still had a great time with this movie. I laughed my ass off throughout the whole movie. And I think I had a better time with this movie because, at least from my perspective, Pat, a lot of these plot points do come together at the end of the film, despite it does get maybe sidetracked here and there.
Yeah. It's a mess, but at least it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
Something that I actually forgot about, how much Beetlejuice actually takes place in the original movie, because it is very short.
Yeah, this is less than 2 hours.
Yeah, but in the new movie, I think he has about just maybe a little more screen time. But I will say, for that, no one has to worry though. Because with a lot of these movies that come out decades after, there is this worry of, is it going to be good or it's not going to be good? This movie came out too little too late. I think despite what anyone will think about this movie, I think we can agree on one thing. Michael Keaton still has it in him.
Yeah, for sure.
I think
he's the best part of the movie.
He's the best part of both movies. And
yeah.
I do love that they do give Beetlejuice a backstory, and how Michael Keaton just acts in that was some of the best acting I've seen in Michael Keaton in quite a long time. And the dude's already a great actor.
Yeah, of course.
I really loved the whole backstory scene, Pat, when he's talking to Bob and all of his other employees. It goes into like this Spanish soap opera.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. He really kills this.
The dude is how old now, and it still feels like this is Beetlejuice from the first movie.
Yeah.
I did find it very interesting, though, even though the whole plot of Astrid and Linda was predictable. I think it was interesting that Astrid did see a ghost without her realizing it until it was, too little too late, because it just showed that, hey, yeah, she will believe her mom, but she does have this sort of psychic power that her mom does have too, of seeing ghosts. She just doesn't realize it. Even like I said, even though the plot was predictable, it was still, I think it was still done in a clever way.
Yeah.
And one thing I do want to say too, this film does have a lot of heart too. I think it actually has a lot more heart than the first movie does, because there is this whole theme of family. I mean, the movie opens with a death in the family. So the fact that they're coming together, it is. I do wish we got a little more of Linda's ex-husband, Astrid's dad, on like who he was. Maybe if we did show a little more somewhere in the movie, even if it was just maybe some flashbacks or whatever.
Yeah.
But overall, I still had a great time with it. I think this is a sequel that really holds up, even though it came out decades later than the original movie. And I think it also shows that Tim Burton, he still has it in him, because I do want to say this. Tim Burton, he's one of the directors that hasn't had really a good track record.
Yeah.
You have to look at some of the Alice in Wonderland movies, especially that second one, which was highly forgettable. I saw it in theaters, Pat, and I don't even remember much of it. Then,
right.
He did Dumbo, which was just another Disney live action remake. Now, there was one movie he did which was great. I don't remember the title of it though, but it had something to do with this famous painter. But other than that, his track record has been not the best. So I think this is a great return to form for the guy. I love old Tim Burton movies. I know for a fact, Pat, you do, I think more than I do. You love Tim Burton movies.
For sure.
And it's just a great return to form for him. And of course, you can't have a Tim Burton film without a Danny Elfman score. So to hear that Danny Elfman score kick in again with the Beetlejuice theme, it hit pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, had a lot of fun. Definitely, really, really enjoyable.
And with that, everybody, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Party Pastime. Patrick, we celebrated a lot today in this episode. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Wow, I didn't prepare for this at all.
Yeah, I know we haven't really done that in a while, but I think it's appropriate to bring this back for this whole big celebration episode that we've had.
Well, closing thoughts. No.
All right.
I'm too on the spot.
All right. You know what? I'll say this then, Pat. I think this episode just showed us what we've talked a lot of crap happening in the entertainment industry with like Disney and Concord. This was just a great time. I think this is just to show that there is still great stuff to celebrate. We talked about James Earl Jones and Linkin Park coming back, Marvel, Astro Bot, the new Beetlejuice movie. Even though there is a ton of shit still happening, and like we said before, entertainment. Yeah, I mean, you've said it best, Pat. Entertainment has been going wild.
Yeah.
I think it's just time to just take a step back and realize why we do what we want to do, and that's just to play games, listen to great music, watch good movies, do what makes you happy.
And that's that on
that. Pat, where can I find you on social media?
You can find me at Instagram at PattyWiseTheClown. And that's it.
And you can find me at Ortiz. That's my old one. You can find me at Tommy.Zombie on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you all for tuning into this week's Party Pastime. The party's not yet over because we are going to go back to talk about some other crazy shit happening, which I know, Pat, you have thoughts about the PlayStation 5 Pro and some news about Annapurna.
Yeah.
But
I do have thoughts.
But until then, party on, partiers.